So guys, as you all know, there's a war going on right now. I guess some people would call it a special operation. From the Ukrainian perspective, it's a war. From the Russian perspective, it's a special operation. Now, the sad reality is that it's very likely that Putin might actually call it a war and actually declare a war, because right now he cannot use the entirety of the Russian army / the entirety of the funding, etc. for the Ukrainian conflict. The point is that it's really been screwing over Ukraine. A lot of people have lost their homes. A lot of people have lost their lives. It's just a horrible situation that I'm really sorry that this is actually happening, and I really hope that it's going to end as soon as possible. That being said, there is one country that has been benefiting a lot from this war. Romania has been benefiting a fuck ton from this war. I didn't realize this at first, but the war in Ukraine is really fucking good for Romania. I can tell you that firsthand. I'm going to tell you exactly why right now. Because the Russians basically have most of the south coast of Ukraine, and Ukraine's only access to the sea is via Odessa, which is kind of getting bombed, and it's very close to the front line. So most of the Ukrainian goods are actually not coming through here. A lot of the trade that was happening through this area is not happening anymore. So what's actually happening is an area of Romania that has been overlooked for the past 30 years is getting developed now. I'm talking about the Moldovan area of Romania, where I am from. After the fall of communism, this entire area was abandoned by the Romanian government. They didn't build a single fucking highway. They didn't build a single road. There's literally trains and train tracks that have not been in use for the past 30 years. Not even used, man, for the past 30 years. There's like grass 4 meters long, not even exaggerating when I say 4 meters, longer than I am. Trees grown over the railroads because they didn't use these, and they completely destroyed this area. This is literally the only highway. This small strip over here next to Baku, it's like 4 kilometers of highway. It's actually the belt around this city here, this little bit here. That's it. After the Ukraine situation, and because Ukraine cannot really transport all of its grains and cannot do any trade and anything of the sorts through Odessa, or very limited because they're blockaded by the Russians, they've been shipping their stuff via the north of Romania, coming through the railroads and through the roads of Moldova. A lot of stuff has also been going to Ukraine via the same road, and because these roads and these railroads have been in a very shitty state, the European Union has given funds to Romania to build them up, and even the Americans have given funds to build up the railroads, fix the railroads, fix the roads themselves, and improve the infrastructure. My mom was actually telling me, because she's still there, she's like literally 30 minutes away from the Ukrainian border here. She's told me like how they've actually started moving the old rusty trains that were not used for the past 30 years away, and they've actually brought in new trains. They are starting to trim the grass, fix the railroads, making it operational. There's tons of tanks on trains going through that area into the north. The roads are getting fixed as well. It's insane, man, and they've actually invested a lot in this area now because of this conflict. How do I feel about this? I feel pretty shitty. It's pretty sad that a war, literally a fucking war, has to start before my government decides that this area of the country should get some investment. Is that normal? In a regular country, no, it's not. In my country, apparently, unless somebody dies, nothing fucking happens. Do you think that Romania and Moldova will reunite after the war? I don't think so. There's a couple of reasons. Both Ukraine and Russia have been asserting a lot of pressure on Moldova not to unify with Romania. Now, of course, everybody loves Ukraine today, and everybody's, rooting for Ukraine, including myself. The reality is that the reason Moldova did not unify with Romania is because of political pressure from Ukraine and Russia, both of them making sure that Moldova stays independent. Because Ukraine's fear is that if Moldova unifies with Romania, then they're going to press claims on the south and the north parts, which have a significant Romanian population and which were historically Romanian territories for a very long time. I don't think Moldova is going to unify with Romania for a lot of reasons. I hope I'm wrong, and I hope there's going to be like insane event that happens and they unify with us, but I still think that both Ukraine and Russia would not agree to it still. I don't want to be that guy, but isn't the normal in all countries? I mean, all countries have regions that have never developed because it's not economically viable. Depends, man. I personally think that in this case, it's not about not being economically viable. Moldova, especially the mountain area, has a lot of resources, and the Moldovan part of Romania especially has a lot of agriculture. I'm talking about massive amounts of agriculture. And every single year, the Moldovan area struggles to get its product outside of this area. The infrastructure is so bad, you know? It's not necessarily in our case about not having economic potential. It does have economic potential. They'd rather invest in the south where the capital is, or Transylvania, because it's a touristic area. Fun fact about Moldova and Romania, a lot of the French wine that you hear about so much, and oh my god, French wine, amazing, a lot of it is Romanian wine. A lot of the wine produced in Romania, when it's still grapes, so it's not processed, is sold in bulk to France, to French vineyards, and these guys make the wine from the grape, from the Romanian grape, and they sell it off as French wine. Sometimes even the wine itself is sold to the French, and they just bottle it up and sell it to other countries as French wine. I know that because my grandpa used to do this. There was a French company that used to come every single year to the village where I'm from, and my grandpa and all the other villagers, they used to sell their wine or their grapes to this company, to their trucks. They would sell a lot, like a few tons or something like that, right? And they get money for it. If they really invested in Moldova, it would have so much potential, especially from an agricultural perspective. So much wine is produced here. Like, we have so many freaking vineyards. It's insane, dude. Most of this, vineyards. Most of this, vineyards. This, vineyards. Almost all this area is vineyards. This area here is tomatoes. All of this is cucumbers, tomatoes, and shit. I know that there's so much potential from an agricultural perspective. Right now, the Ukrainian situation, Russia has not advanced a single bit. Ukraine has struck back a little bit, actually, in the northern parts here, and they pushed back some of the Russian troops. So that's good news. Still pretty intense fighting in this area here. Still, in the Azovstal, the factories here have not been taken by the Russians. They are getting bombed. Reports that civilians are still in this area here. How many and under what circumstances, I don't know. There's varying reports, and I just hope that they surrender, because this way, if you surrender, you don't die. There's literally no point making a last stand here and having people die for nothing. Just surrender, and the soldiers get captured as prisoners of war and get exchanged with prisoners of war from their side. There's a lot of Russians that were taken as prisoners of war, and they can just exchange. There's nothing to be gained from just sitting in this area, my own opinion. No attacks from the Russians, but a lot of people suspect that there's going to be more attacks if Putin actually declares war on Ukraine. If he does declare war, remember that he can also allow the use of tactical nuclear missiles, which is the part of the Russian war doctrine. It's literally their own war doctrine, where they use low yield nuclear missiles for military targets, not civilian centers. And if Russia does declare war on Ukraine, and then they can start conscripting people, they can start using a lot of their budget for the war, that's going to be a different story. And I highly think that it's going to happen because of the amount of equipment Ukraine has been receiving. Russia is forced into it. Let's just pray that they don't use the tactical nuclear missiles. That's the main thing I'm worried about, because no matter how much you try to focus on military targets, you're still going to kill civilians with those fucking things, and it's still going to affect the lands where those nukes were dropped. And it might have a snowball effect where if they do drop nukes, then other countries might do it too. It's definitely a possibility, because this has the potential to be a world-ending event. Come to Iran, Ludi. It's much safer. I don't think so, man. I don't think so. It's sad to see, brothers fighting for something as stupid as land, when at the end of the day, it's not about Ukraine or Russia owning the land, because it doesn't matter. It's still corporations that are gonna exploit the land and make money off of this land. It's not the people. It's corporations. So this war is literally useless. Oh, Russia can say it's their land. Ukraine can say it's their land. Doesn't matter. It's not like Yuri from Ukraine or Yuri from Russia is gonna benefit from that land. It's gonna be Igor, the oligarch from Ukraine, or Igor, the oligarch from Russia. But it's okay. We'll just still have the war. Let a lot of people die for no reason.